Good evening and welcome to Kindergarten Live. My name is Danielle Airy and I'm the Peoria Unified School District's Chief Communications Officer. It is just such a pleasure to be with you this evening as we share just a little bit more about the kindergarten experience in the Peoria Unified School District. We know, families, if you are experiencing kindergarten this year, if this is your first really foray into what school is all about, it's a lot to handle just in a regular year, but it's especially a lot in the middle of a pandemic. And we recognize that we have brought in some leading experts from our schools to share a little bit, hopefully calm some of those jitters for you and your child as they embark upon this kindergarten experience. We're going to get to our kindergarten teachers here in just a little bit. Before we do, it is our pleasure to have with us this evening our superintendent, Dr. Jason Reynolds. Welcome, Dr. Reynolds.
Well, thank you, Miss Airy. I really appreciate that. Yes, as Miss Airy said, my name is Jason Reynolds, and I am the incredibly proud superintendent of the Peoria Unified School District. I want to thank you for joining us this evening and for supporting your child's learning. As Miss Airy said, there's a lot of questions around what the kindergarten experience is going to look like in this virtual learning environment. And so hopefully we will be able to answer some of those questions as the evening goes on. As a parent myself, I vividly remember being the parent of a kindergarten student. It seems that my oldest is a junior in high school, and it seems like yesterday when she met her kindergarten teacher, Miss Bauer, for the very first time. And so I understand all the emotions that come with that. And then you add on top of that the uncertainty that comes with these times, as well as the virtual learning experience. And it can be overwhelming for parents, and it can be a little overwhelming for your children. I need you to know that these principals and these teachers that you're going to be working with are some of the most passionate, dedicated, loving, caring, warm people that I have ever had the pleasure to meet. And they are ready to welcome your child, and they are working around the clock to make sure that you're going to have an amazing experience. So I want to thank you again for supporting your child's learning. I want to thank you for partnering with us in this 13-year educational journey. Trust me, you are going to blink and your son or daughter is going to be a junior in high school, and you're going to wonder, where in the world did the time go? So again, thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for choosing Peoria Schools. Have a great night.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Reynolds. And it's fascinating as I'm listening to him speak about how it goes by in the blink of an eye. I happen to find myself on the other end of that journey. I'm just starting out as a brand new kindergarten parent myself. So my son is getting ready to start that first year, and he'll be a kindergartner this year in another school district, and we are so excited. We're looking forward to it. But I'll tell you, I work in education, and I still feel those same just nerves. And I'm wondering, what's this going to be like, given the fact that it is through a screen as we start our school year here next Wednesday on August the 5th. So hopefully, to calm the nerves of many of you, answer many of your questions, are two of just really our leading kindergarten teachers here in the Peoria Unified School District. I am looking forward to learning from them this evening, and I know they are really going to address many of the questions and many of the concerns that are on the hearts and minds of so many of our parents this evening. So I will welcome to our stream this evening our first kindergarten teacher, and she's from Sunset Heights Elementary School, Jennifer Dimbakowitz. And one of the greatest things about Mrs. Dimbakowitz is she is also a graduate from the Peoria Unified School District. We're so pleased to have her. She has an elementary degree from the University of Arizona, has been passionate about teaching, and has been in the Peoria School District for 19 years. Through that time, she has taught second grade, third grade, and now, of course, our littlest learners, our kindergartners. So thank you for being with us tonight, Mrs. Dimbakowitz. We also have from one of our Glendale schools, from Saguaro Ranch Elementary School, Portia Lynn Harper. And we're so pleased to have you with us as well, Mrs. Harper. Mrs. Harper actually has some experience in pre-K as well, so with our preschool students. And then she has been at Saguaro Ranch Elementary School for 4 years teaching kindergarten, also with a degree in elementary education. And I should mention at Saguaro Ranch, she also gives her time and talents to support cross country as well as the yearbook club there at the school. So as if teaching kindergarten isn't busy enough. But welcome to both of you. We are really just going to dive right in. And I think one of the first things that many parents wonder, and especially if you've not gone through this before, is I'm wondering, and we'll start with you, Mrs. Dimbachwitz, if we could, what could parents expect as far as the skills that are typically covered at the start of the new school year with our youngest learners? What types of things do kindergarten teachers start with as far as the basics?
Well, you said it. We start right at the basics. We have to go ahead and teach students to not only sometimes recognize their name, know the letters in their names, they need to know how to form their letters, all 26 letter names and letter sounds, start them off really understanding their numbers and being able to write those as well, and really understand and build their number sense to dig deeply to really know that 5 is 2 and 3, 1 and 4, all those kind of things. But besides just our important content that we have to teach them, we have to set the foundations and really work with them on our routines, our procedures, what it looks like to be an active part of a classroom, what it looks like to communicate and share and work together, and we will still be able to do all of that in our online setting.
Well, we know it's going to be a little bit different. So of course, we'll get to that part here in just a little bit. But Mrs. Harper, I want to bring you in and ask if you could just kind of talk even beyond the start of the school year, what kinds of things, I'm sure it's changed, right? Since I was in kindergarten, I'm sure the standards or the expectations might be just a little bit different. So overall, what are the types of things that kindergartners typically learn beyond just the start of the year for the course of their experience in kindergarten? Can you maybe just give us a few examples?
So throughout the course of kindergarten, as Jennifer said, we really start with the basics, and that continues to build throughout the whole school year with the letter concepts and the number concepts. With ELA and the writing, once we kind of have the foundation of letters and formation, we can move fluidly into the writing portion, the building the sentences and some of those CVC words, closed syllable words, some of the simpler words, and we also move on to sight words, which our district likes our kindergartners to know at least 50 with kind of a stretch goal of 75 words. Those are the words that we read with and we write with, and we like our students to have that strong foundation in order to build their reading and their writing. And then with math, of course, we build into T numbers, we work into base 10, and we work on our addition and subtraction fluency. So it all builds throughout the whole school year, and with the solid foundation is really the best part about kindergarten, is working from all the way from the beginning.
And it's probably just incredible to see their progress because you get them so fresh, and many of them may not have gone to preschool before they come in into your classroom. So to see that growth and how they change over the course of the year, I'm sure is really exciting as a kindergarten teacher to have that kind of up close and personal look. Now, in our district, we've been talking quite a bit about the first 8 days of this school year and how we're really going to focus on the child's social emotional needs and really just checking in to make sure they're okay and getting them used to being an online learner. Can you maybe talk, Mrs. Harper, a little bit about what parents can expect from that and really what that will look like from their end on the other side of the computer as we're starting virtually?
So as we're starting virtually, I know that throughout the district, we have been talking about a morning meeting and meeting with our whole group in the mornings and kind of connecting in the way that we wish that we could be doing in the classroom, getting to know one another, doing some fun games. We've talked about scavenger hunts and, like a show and tell kind of thing, just to build that community. So the morning meetings are going to be very important throughout the first 8 days. I know it's going to be hard to build that community, but that's really that social emotional piece and getting to know each other, you know, through the camera and recognizing each other's faces and knowing each other's names and just getting used to the setting, as I know some of our parents have chosen to complete the first portion of the school year online. So a lot of just the getting to know you and getting comfortable, because we do hope to be together again soon.
Well, I would imagine, you know, that in a typical year, students are coming to you from all different backgrounds. And, you know, as I said, that you probably get some that have had preschool or maybe been at a childcare learning type center for a number of years before they walk into the classroom to see you for the first time. And then you may get some that this is just their absolute first time being in some type of a learning environment. Can you maybe talk a little bit about how you'll start to kind of assess where they're all at? You know, you'll be viewing them through a screen, so it will obviously be a little bit different. And I know, as I was kind of wrestling with that as a kindergarten parent, I'm like, well, it's just not going to be the same. How are they gonna know the level that my child is starting at? And Mrs. Dimbachowitz, can you maybe just share kind of some of those strategies for how you're going to start virtually?
Yeah, for sure. It is going to be a change from what we normally do, because normally we sit down and we assess a child one-on-one and try and really get to know them and see what they can apply as they're learning for us. So in this situation, we are going to have to work and be very creative. We can start small group online lessons with each other, or even try and have face-to-face screen time with each other, where we can ask a child a question. We might go ahead and have something to where they could take turns responding, doing thumbs up, thumbs down to respond to different things that we're doing. We can check and see how they are doing certain work by having them holding it up and showing it with us. And we're also really lucky to have Florida Virtual as our tool that will allow us to see how the students are working and moving through that program. We can go ahead and see where they are, what they're working on, how they're doing, give them instant feedback, and then go ahead and really modify our live lessons and our live things to meet their needs based off what we are seeing from their work, either in our whole group present live morning messages, meetings, and then also their Florida Virtual.
Well, I think that's a really, really important piece that you bring up when you talk about those live lessons, because there might be some parents that think, I'm just not even going to bother enrolling in kindergarten. It's not really the actual teacher that is there teaching. It's just probably a program that they're clicking through, and I don't want them to do that at such a young age. You know, Mrs. Harper, I'm not sure if you have anything to add as far as strategies or things and how you're going to approach that, but I think that's really key for our parents to understand, is they'll be seeing you in front of their screen, much like we're seeing you now. So Mrs. Harper, we're going to switch over to you. Yeah, sorry. There we go.
So as Jennifer was saying, we are having to be super creative in our approach. It is usually done face-to-face. I don't have a whole lot to add, as it's a learning curve to us as well. Hopefully, like she said, just getting some of that small group time and able to assess, you know, keeping a running record on each student. And in a smaller group setting, it is easier to gather that kind of data on each child. So I think she covered it perfectly.
Well, and I know kindergarten teachers, you know, I know you're among the most creative, really, that there is. I mean, so where there's a will, there's a way. I'd imagine you can still hold up flashcards onto the screen. And of course, even just your conversations with students will give you a lot of what you need to know to be able to assess them and to be able to support them. Mrs. Dimbachowitz, I want to ask you, because it's more than just the screen, right? Our district and our schools are going through a process of preparing some actual materials that we will be, once we get through these first few days, we'll be handing out to families. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, a team of kindergarten teachers from across the district have collaborated on what are some really good things that we want to put in the hands of our kids right off the bat as soon as we can to help them out. So, of course, obviously, we're going to have the basics, our crayons, scissors, those kind of things, but something that not every household's going to probably have are red and yellow counters. We use these all the time. We use them in math to really help students understand numbers and break them apart. will include a 5 frame and a 10 frame, and your classroom teachers are going to walk your students through how to use these with these chips to really help them understand. We'll also use those chips for blending and segmenting sounds. Something that's kind of unique is that we are going to improvise and make dry erase boards for you. If you have one, great at home, but we're going to go ahead and have a sleeve protector that has paper that can be put in and out of it with that'll have different templates that students can go ahead and practice all of their important kindergarten skills. The one I'm showing you right now is our handwriting format template that we use with our phonics program foundations. And then we'll also rotate maybe things with different hundreds charts, different things that whatever the teacher would like a student to work on in small group lessons or whole group lessons, they'll be able to go through that.
Wow, well, that is that is a very cool thing that we're providing. So I know we'll look forward to getting those into the hands of our families. And you mentioned a word I want to go back to, actually, Mrs. Dimbachwitz. You mentioned the word foundations. Yes. What is foundations? Do you mind just maybe sharing a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. We are in year 2 of our district's implementation of our amazing phonics program. It is a really detailed program that takes students from kindergarten through 3rd grade all the way through all of the developmentally appropriate language concept skills that they're going to need to become better readers and writers. And we will do our very best to continue to offer those experiences to our students online. In the kindergarten years, we start out with our letter names and sounds with flashing special cards that have the letters, a keyword, and a sound. We translate that into different letter formations so that kids are becoming automatic in their handwriting and their that can transfer so that they can start writing words quicker. So really thorough program that's embedded deeply in research, and it's really going to be critical for our students to have an experience like that, to be ready to continue their reading and writing as they move on.
Well, that is so important, those foundational skills. And I know our parents, I knew I had to sneak that question in because I knew they were going to want to know a little bit more about foundations and what that is. And just those foundational skills, I think you both mentioned it, how important they are to serve as just really the springboard to take kids to the next level with their reading and their writing. And those basics really are just so very critical. I want to ask you, Mrs. Harper, you know, just like the, you know, some of the anxiety and nerves that I'm experiencing. I know many of our families are kind of going through that, and they're feeling a little bit apprehensive just about the whole screen thing. And just the fact that it's going to be through a screen. Are there some proposed schedules that you might give them to kind of help that, or some kind of tools? Like maybe what do you say to parents that say, like, I'm just not so sure about my child interacting through the screen?
Yeah, we have definitely talked about that and had a lot of conversations about that because of the screen time with the littles. I think the most important thing is that we are going to be using Florida Virtual separately, you know, so you can monitor that time. We will be giving out a schedule for times where we meet whole group, where we could potentially meet one-on-one or in smaller group settings. So a good thing that my administration and I were talking about is chunking it up into separate times so they're not sitting there for long periods of times. We know, especially at the first few weeks of school, keeping them engaged and focused, you know, sitting in the seat, getting ready, that can be hard. So we are going to trying to keep our times together short and build that stamina until they can sit for longer periods of time. But I think the important word, like you said, is engaged. And so we're going to try and also do a lot of hands-on stuff. Jennifer showed the whiteboard, so they're not just going to be sitting there staring at us. You know, we want them to be doing the work with us. And we also talked about, you know, moving around the house with the scavenger hunt. And also we talked about, you know, some of the STEM stuff with building and, you know, showing each other their work and not just, I did it, no, let's see it, right? So keeping them engaged in those shorter amount of times until we can build into longer portions.
Well, you painted that picture very, very well, because I think for a lot of parents and, you know, that that may not have even crossed their mind. They just assume they're starting virtually. There's no way this can be interactive other than clicking through some type of a game or a module of some sort. So chunking that out and building up, I think, is going to be so critically important. I heard actually a colleague of mine up the hall sharing a little bit of an example, saying, we might do a little bit with you in person, and then, say, get your teddy bear. We're going to, read a story to our teddy bear, just kind of involving some components from home that I think actually adds kind of an interesting element if we have to pull a positive from anything in this situation, that the circumstance that we find ourselves in. So again, your creativity as teachers, I know, will be huge, and the partnership with parents will also be huge to kind of contribute to the success. Mrs. Dimbachwitz, can you maybe talk a little bit about communication with parents? What are some of the ways that you connect with parents? Is it phone calls? Is it emails? How frequently does it typically happen? And we know you both are just speaking from your individual classrooms, but I know you have a lot of insight into kindergarten as a whole. How are some of those communication strategies handled with parents?
Like you said, we use multiple ways to communicate with parents, and in this platform it'll change up a little bit more, whereas before we'd send home paper copies of things along with the emails and the phone calls. Now we're going to have to really make sure that we are there for our parents, that we are helping answer their questions when they need to. We'll reach out, we'll make phone calls with them. We'll definitely, my team and I envision having some parent information nights where we'll encourage our parents to join us online, and we'll walk them through and show them how to use some of the activities and the tools that we're going to be using with the students, so that they're familiar, so that when their student is on, that they have that comfort level, they know what to expect. But we plan on using our great Microsoft Team product. There's so many things that can be stored in files in there. We can upload videos from lessons that we've taught earlier in the day. So if a parent and a family isn't able to attend the live, they can go into the Teams, watch it, and interact with their child the way that we would. Possibly going back to even our wonderful flip grids where students can respond at their own times, and that will also give them the communication to know what's going on, because it's so critical for a parent to understand what we're asking the students to do. And so I think that the more we can share with a parent, the more we can tell them up front, like with a weekly newsletter, updates, that they're going to feel, okay, I got this, it's going to be okay. So we'll definitely use as much of that as we can.
Well, and parents are just new, going through this, but it's really probably like being a brand new teacher all over again, a little bit, because it's completely different from how you've started any other year in your teaching career, I'm sure. So Dr. Reynolds talked about the partnership between parents and the school, and I know that that's something that's really important to him. I know it's something that's really, really important to both of you. Part of this whole parent choice model that we've introduced, where families, of course, are going to start online with us on the 5th, but then we'll have a choice once it's safe to return. They can either have their child come back into the classroom, or if they feel it's best for their family, they can continue on in a virtual environment. For those families who have chosen to come back into the classroom once it's safe to do so, how will you ensure a smooth transition? What will that look like kind of as you transition from the screen environment to a classroom environment? Mrs. Harper.
So we are going to try our absolute hardest to make that the smoothest transition, which I know some of us are really looking forward to. We do miss being around students. So some of the things that we've talked about in our trainings is continuing on with the scope and sequence of Florida Virtual, so that the children that when they were online, it kind of continues back when they're in the classroom. We also talked about, again, with the pacing, and when they come back into the classroom, we are going to have to kind of start over again, and with the procedures, how we walk to lunch, or how we ask to use the bathroom. So we're going to have to take a pause there for a second and go over those procedures once again in a physical in-person setting. But again, we're just going to continue on with the scope and sequence that the district has provided us, and we're just going to try and keep it as similar with the foundations, phonics drills that Jennifer was talking about continuing the same drills that we were doing in the morning, continuing a morning meeting, and getting used to being just with each other in person versus online. So a lot of the same drills that we do throughout, we're going to continue in the classroom.
Well, and we're hopeful, our families will give themselves some grace, give you all some grace as this is new, and it won't be perfect, but we will make it a positive experience for their child. And we know that you all are doing everything to make that happen. Lots of hours of planning going on right now on your end. What about the parents here with less than a week to go before the first day of virtual instruction? Mrs. Dimbachwitz, anything come to mind that you think that families can do now, even just with a few days before the start of school? Are there conversations they should be having, or is there anything they can really do to make sure their child is prepped and ready for August 5th?
Definitely. I think first and foremost, parents need to be so excited about this experience and share with their children how proud they are that they're going to be starting kindergarten very soon and that they're about to embark in this amazing learning curve. And it's just going to be great. So the positivity that they share with their child in conversations is going to be so critical, so a child feels excited and ready to go, even with all of these unknowns. I also really, for my own children, we're building spots in our house that are ready for them for their distance learning, a spot that doesn't have a lot of distractions, a spot that's always going to be kind of where they're going to go, a spot where their tools are so that they're ready to learn and really embrace all the things that are going to be coming their way, and be prepared themselves. The other thing in kindergarten, so many times our kids are great at iPads. They're great at touch devices, and that might not necessarily be the device that they're going to be working on in meeting with the teacher. So if you have a different device than you haven't normally been using, now's a great time to let them try that. If they have never touched a mouse before, because how many times they're normally like, oh, the mouse, they're thinking an animal. Like sometimes that happens. So it's important to have them practice the clicking, and there's so many games online that they can do that in a safe way to practice getting used to manipulating the screen and those things as needed. So I would definitely take the time to let them explore whatever device they're going to be learning on.
Well, and we know not all families may have access to a device at home. Mrs. Harper, are there devices available? I'm not sure if your school did some kind of a process yet to provide devices, but how might a family be able to get one if they're in need?
We have already started our laptop checkout. With Kinder, I know that there are still a lot of enrollments happening and parents are still getting their paperwork submitted to start kindergarten, but we have already begun our laptop checkout where families, it's a drive-through setting. You kind of schedule a time practicing social distancing. So they come through the front parking lot, they pull through, they check in with the person there, and we are able to log into the laptop for them and make sure that everything is set up before they drive away. Because I know that can be kind of hard with a device that's not yours, is you get home and you're like, oh no, I don't know how to work this. So we do try to make sure that you're logged in, your child's username and password are ready to go. That way, when you're home, you're pretty much set up. And then, just like Jennifer said, making that safe space to work and know that, this is my learning time. So just once you get that laptop home, you can put it in that space for learning.
Well, you both are making it sound so fun. I hope you both still have space in your class for some additional kindergartners. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some parents watching this evening and saying, maybe I'll give this virtual learning thing a shot. And to that end, I do want to ask you, I find myself in this position. I have a hunch that we might have many families that find themselves in a position where they're working. And this sounds nice, and to be able to have their student connect, but maybe not quite so feasible all the time or every day to have an adult there to support them with this. Maybe they have to send the child to daycare and they can't take the laptop every day. To maybe those families that say, I could maybe check in every now and then, but I'm not so sure about them being able to commit to doing this virtual thing every day. I'm not going to enroll until I can actually send my child to school. Mrs. Dimbachwitz, what would you say to that parent?
Totally understand, because I'm going to probably be in a similar boat sometimes with 4 kids myself and then trying to teach as well. So I say try to just give yourself a chance to breathe and know that what you're doing to try to help your child is going to be amazing. Luckily, we do have such great products to where we can record what we're doing. Students can be flexible and be working at their own pace, at their own time with Florida Virtual. So they definitely can utilize their own time schedule. And if we are recording our lessons and sharing them with our students later dates, that will be really helpful for them. Another thing is that we're kindergarten teachers, we're adapting, we are new to all of this. And so I think as we continue this process this way, starting out the school year, we're going to be flexible with our parents just as much as we hope they will be flexible with us. So I think you'll see some things staying consistent, but if things aren't going to work, we'll fix it. That's what we do best in our kindergarten rooms all the time. So we'll definitely work on that.
Well, that's a great response. You know, you'll be flexible, and I think the message to all of our families is we just love to have you. So enroll, give it a shot. Look, these are 2 of just many, many, many of the incredible kindergarten teachers that we have here in the Peoria Unified School District. Before I let you ladies go for the evening, I just have to ask, you just both seem really excited about this new year, and that is so hopeful and so inspiring given the circumstances that we are in. Mrs. Harper, I maybe we'll start with you, but what are you most looking forward to? Are there still things to look forward to this year? And if so, what are those things for you?
Some of the things that I'm looking forward to this year is adapting to technology. It's always changing, and so it's fun for us teachers too to kind of learn some of these new tools and putting it in our toolbox for later, and knowing that we have access to things like Flipgrid and Teams. And I even learned a little bit of Microsoft Sway today, kind of setting up a classroom website. So I'm looking forward to learning as we go, and looking forward to seeing what all kind of folds out from this.
It will be exciting, that's for sure. Mrs. Dimbachwitz, what about for you? What are you most looking forward to?
Well, I agree with her because there are so many things that we can always grow and build our craft on. So this is just a year to really be challenging for us and have us set new standards and new goals for ourselves as teachers. But honestly, most importantly, I cannot wait to see my kids' faces. Even though we'll be online, I just can't wait to get to know their personalities, to see them and watch them grow. Because there's nothing better than seeing a kindergarten kid that doesn't know what they don't know, and then all of a sudden it clicks and their confidence levels are through the roof. It's magical, and I can't wait to see that.
Oh, well, any student would just be beyond lucky to be in either one of your classes. We just wish both of you all the best this year as you are starting out on this new adventure. And to those families that have taken the time to join us this evening, we really hope we were able to answer some more of your questions. We have so much more information available for you on our website. It's peoriaunified.org/return to school. You can see all the information about our return to school plans as they are continuing to evolve, and we of course are committed to keeping our families up to date along the way. We invite you to enroll. You can do so online. So if you've not yet submitted the enrollment packet for your kindergarten student, there's information on our website there as well. Enroll your child in kindergarten, and of course you'll be connected with one of our stellar kindergarten teachers. Thank you again, ladies, for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it, your insights and your expertise, and we look forward to checking in with you again to see how the start of the school year is going. To all of our families that have joined us this evening, thank you, and we'll see you soon.